For our sustainability topic, we looked at creating a food sharing economy at UNL through normalization strategies. What is food waste? Food waste is any byproduct or waste product from the production, processing, distribution, and consumption of food. According to the Food and Agricultural Organization, in a 2011 food waste report, they said that food losses in industrialized countries are as high as in developing countries, but in developing countries, more than 40% of the food losses are from post-harvest and processing levels of production. While in industrialized countries, more than 40% of the food losses are from retail and consumer levels. So this is a food waste concept map we created, which identifies some of the sources of food waste, some of the economic impacts of food waste, some social impacts of food waste, as well as environmental impacts of food waste, which contribute to climate change. So how does UNL rank? For UNL, food waste falls under the operations and waste categories established by STARS, and that is the Sustainability Tracking, Assessment, and Rating System. Reducing food waste at UNL relates to waste minimization and diversion. How does food waste relate to the UN Sustainable Development Goals? Food waste relates to goal number 2, which is zero hunger, as well as goal number 12, responsible production and consumption. So efforts to reduce food waste for goal number 2 would include by 2030, ending hunger to ensure access by all people. And for goal number 12, it would include by 2030, substantially reducing waste through prevention, reduction, recycling, and reuse. So what are our sustainability considerations? We're looking at natural systems that are affected being air, soil, and water within ecosystems. Some planetary boundaries that are involved include ocean acidification, stratospheric ozone depletion, climate change, biochemical flows, and changes to land systems. So how does this relate to our national climate assessment? Looking at human health. So according to the National Climate Assessment of 2014, certain people and communities are especially vulnerable, including children, the elderly, the sick, the poor, and some communities of color. So the importance for UNL would be promoting the reduction and recycling of food waste on campus, which lowers negative environmental impacts for both students and the university as a whole, recovering valuable energy, organic matter, nutrients, and water that is lost through food waste, and it would be both sustainable and economical. Promoting sustainable culture on campus, UNL can become a sustainable leader in the community, and UNL can help improve public health by reducing hazardous gases that are produced from sending waste to the landfill. So our recommendation for UNL would be to utilize normalization strategies to establish a food sharing economy. So as you can see, we start with understanding the problem source, education, build participation, and then establish routine. So this takes uncommon practices at UNL and turns them into common practices. Commitment to alternative practices as well as increasing sustainable behavior would ensue. So some continued recommendations for UNL. Building on established UNL initiatives like Eco-Huskers, which is a Green Teams program that actually seeks to promote positive environmental behavior in the university community through peer-to-peer engagement. Our strategy could blend seamlessly with this program. So future desired behavior for dealing with food waste, starting from the top here, would be preventing food waste creation overall by the majority of people, utilizing food sharing by most people. Anything that can't be used in food sharing would then be used for animal feed, and anything that wouldn't be able to be consumed by human or animals would be used in waste reprocessing, and then our last effort would be sending food waste to the landfill. So Ursula College is engaging in a type of food sharing effort. They are one of 13 with the highest amount of food waste diverted for the EPA's program. They have a student group, Wismer on Wheels, that collects and packages leftover food that isn't set out from the dining halls, and then they work on taking that to local food banks for donation. They also have waste materials diverted to a trash-to-energy facility, fryer oil is used for biodiesel, and they are also working on composting efforts. So additional background on food sharing culture. In Germany, they have a new internet platform, and it's helping Germans share food rather than waste it in an attempt to limit their environmental damage of wasted food and feed those who need it. Similar initiatives are like those in Australia. A mobile app was created called Foodduction. And through this app, you can search based on your location and find excess food from restaurants that is significantly reduced. There are in-app transactions, leftover recipes, and incentives for promoting the app. So looking at our stakeholders and their concerns, our primary stakeholders would include faculty, staff, students, associated restaurants, and custodians. Some of our secondary stakeholders would be associated organizations, visitors, alumni, Husker fans, incoming students, and looking at their potential concerns. For primary stakeholders, the effect of food waste on the environment and their health is a big consideration, and for secondary, ways to recycle food waste and reduce harm to ecosystems. They also may have concerns about potential costs of alternative food waste diversions, which is something to keep into consideration. So how can UNL get involved? The first step would be to show general support of a food sharing economy, and then that would start the process of normalization and open minds to the idea of starting food sharing on campus. A major issue for this solution might be funding. Finding extra money for transportation of food and paying employees can be difficult. So volunteer efforts like those at Ursula College would be the base of the program. There are a lot of students and organizations in need of volunteer opportunities, and the building participation part of our normalization strategy would play a key role. The biggest issue we see would be that of food safety. Being able to package the food and keep it at correct temperatures while it is being transported could prove to be difficult. Not all foods might be able to be transported very safely, so research on what works would be vital. And last, a similar alternative for this would be to attempt to make a profit from that excess food. If there are any business students who would collaborate with environmental studies students, a program could be developed that could create a method where unconsumed food could be redistributed to locations for those who are needing it, and the food could be offered at a low, affordable price that would benefit both the community and the university financially. So what are some other institutions doing? Looking at Sterling College, they have students who run farms on their campus. They have a working livestock farm and gardens that provide about 20% of their food. And 80% of the food they waste from dining halls is composted on the college farm. Some pros would be achieving food and energy water balance, and some cons of that could be a lack of experience to run those farms. Looking at the environmental ethic within our groups, you could look at the anthropocentric perspectives, which would include food sharing activities to reduce food waste and improve public health, food waste recycling to save money and energy. Some non-anthropocentric perspectives would be reducing food waste to minimize the influence of hazardous gases on ecosystems and reduce food waste to prevent climate change. So in reflection, for the establishment of a food sharing economy at UNL, goals and strategies include the education of students, staff, and faculty on their food choices, establishing a food sharing economy and building participation, promoting food waste recycling and alternatives, promote resource and energy efficiency, establish overall a sustainable culture. Food waste reduction could also be taken further with student-led farms and composting systems on campus. And some drawbacks to be aware of would be the lack of funding, food safety issues, and a need for profit for success. So in summary, utilizing normalization strategies to shift social norms will increase sustainable behavior on campus. We want to establish our food sharing economy, utilize those normalization strategies, and shift those norms. Consider following Ursula College, who has established their own food sharing system on their campus here in the US. Look at other universities like University of Iowa, who compost food waste from their dining hall, Sterling College, who runs a campus farm, and also keep in consideration our environmental ethics, which minimize the negative influence of food waste on humans and ecosystems. And a lot of work will need to go into promoting a shift in social norms in UNL. Campus would need to promote sustainable behavior. There may be drawbacks to certain aspects of a movement like this, but thorough research and understanding will aid in the sustainable success.